All right, let's do Ole Miss, Stephen. And again, we're grading on the curve. Interested to see what you got for them Rebels.
Mike, I gave Ole Miss a B, and a little disappointing, certainly. I think for me for Ole Miss this season, I had high expectations for this team with the talent, with what they did last year, the schedule, everything said you should make the college football playoff. So giving them a B might almost be too kind. For the team, this was supposed to be the last dance, going to the playoff. They didn't get there. I think missed opportunities is the best way to sum it up because they are literally 2 plays away from having one loss in SEC play. And the stat sheet, being at the top of the SEC in scoring offense and defense, this was a really solid team all around, but it just didn't translate into the thing that they were aiming for in the college football playoff.
Yeah, well, all right. Yeah, so you have turned back into the
Right.
overgrader. This is an F, Stephen. This is an F. 9-3, ain't cutting it. I thought this was the team that could win the national championship. I mean, just as recently as 3 weeks ago, after they whooped Georgia up and down the field, they blew it. They blew it big time. They to not even make the playoff is an epic, epic disaster. And I've heard some concerning things down there, Stephen. How about this? I have it on trusted sources. He was going to Florida. Lane Kiffin was going to take that job. Of course, never in a million years were they going to offer it. Billy Napier whooped his ass. But so I don't know. He was distracted with that. I heard this too. This is pretty juicy. And I trust the person that told me this. Right before the LSU game, Stephen, Lane Kiffin moping around the facility and said something to the effect of his girlfriend, his 20-something-year-old girlfriend broke up with him. He's walking around moping around. He said, it's been 17 days since we got broken up. And someone said, Lane, LSU's tomorrow. Get your head out of your ass. Well, we all know what happened. You lost that game. So this is an F. This is Lane Whiffen for life. Everything I just told you is 100% true. This is disgusting. I mean, they should have what they. I'm just so angry, Stephen, because they bare minimum should have made the playoff with this roster. And again, look at their losses. I mean, Kentucky, awful. Florida's not awful. They were red hot. I will excuse that one on the road, but you dominated LSU until the overtime. I mean, just win one of those and you're in. And look, you kicked South Carolina's ass. You're the last team to beat them. You beat Georgia. You absolutely whooped Arkansas. I mean, this was a waste. This is a F.
I tell you, Mike, the team that frustrates me the most this season is Ole Miss because of the upside for this team. Was if they stop Kentucky on fourth down, they're probably in the college football playoff. And I think that bracket that you showed, I'm picking them to go pretty far because I think they could get hot with the offense and defense combo. Not many teams I think are that balanced with the two sides of the ball. And it's really hard, I think, if you're not a traditional like a Georgia, like Ohio State and Alabama to get to this point, to have everything like the stars aligned. You got the coach, you've got the roster, the transfer portal, the talent, and the schedule to all align this season to do it. And I think it's going to be tough next year to try to run this back. So that's kind of why. I mean, I gave him a B, but I'm kind of second guessing it now because it really is missed opportunity given everything they had this year, and to be 9-3 in the Gator Bowl and playing Duke is, I think, fair to say, pretty disappointing. The Georgia win was good, South Carolina was good, and winning the Egg Bowl good, but like I said, 2 plays away from the college football playoff.
Yeah, well,
thanks,
cousin Brandon. I gotta spin it the other way. He just gave us $100, Stephen. Said, don't worry, we will reload. He's a big Ole Miss guy. So let me spin it this way. I know I just threw him under the bus, but they deserve it. They blew this season. But they're saying this Austin Simmons is the next Tua. I mean, I've heard those comparisons. And we saw him against Georgia. He looked awesome. And they're in conversations with Barian Brown. I believe Kevin Concepcione, if that's his name, at NC State. I mean, so they're right in there with some of the top transfers, and they can get there. They can get there again. But the schedule release in 2 days, live on the show. It's interesting though, Steve. You're going to have to go at Georgia. You get South Carolina, which for all I know, they might be the best team in the SEC next year. LSU. This is a manageable schedule next year. So they could be right in the position, maybe not with those expectations. But what I'm worried about, Steven, I don't know where you're at with this, but the thing that Ole Miss that was an A this year was their defense. Their defense was awesome. Pete Golding, what a hire he's been as a coach, as a recruiter, everything. He's giving it to you. But a lot of those guys are gone. Can you reload the defense? I don't know. I think it's questionable. So I think we got to go back to being an offensive team. At least the strength of the team's got to be the offense. And I got faith in if the quarterback Simmons is who they're saying he is with Kiffin, yes, they'll be fine. But for the rest of my life, I don't think I'll get over this season not making the playoff.
I think that sounds a lot like me at like 2:00 in the morning when I'm being like frustrated. Look at college. I need better help to get over my frustration. I'll miss the playoff this year. I do think you said something important there, which is I believe in Austin Simmons based upon what we saw this year. And obviously dangerous to believe small sample sizes translate to a full season, but he was impressive. And, Concepcion, the receiver from NC State, I think is going to be very highly sought after in the portal. One other name to watch for Ole Miss is Ahmad Hardy. He is a running back from Louisiana Monroe. He ran for over 1,000 yards this year, one of the top freshmen in the country. I think he has been kind of connected to Ole Miss. It would not surprise me if he could be a day one starter for that team. So I kind of expect Lane will find a way to build an offense and he'll portal shop. I think the thing that worries me, and this is kind of what you're getting at, is guys like Walter Nolan don't enter the portal every time. Like that is an A+ defensive lineman. And yes, there are going to be a lot of offensive linemen and defensive linemen that enter the portal, but are they all America caliber in the SEC? That's where I have a hard time finding them being able to run that back. Now, I think Pete Golding's pretty good, and I think they'll be fine on that side of the ball. Their home schedule next year, Mike, like you said, is it's favorable, but you also look at that road slate. I mean, at Oklahoma could be better. The Egg Bowl on the road, and of course at Georgia, they should sweep the non-conference schedule. So it really might come down to, can you handle the swing games at home with Florida, LSU, or South Carolina if you want to get back in the playoff mix? If I had to take a guess, I would probably have them in my top 25 right now next season. Maybe not in the top 10, but probably somewhere in that 10 to 20 range.
Right. And I just looked it up because I remember I was just trying to see how long ago it was. It was the last recruiting cycle. So second-year players, they cleaned up with a lot of in-state defensive linemen that were touted guys. So maybe by year 2, still, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask. Second-year defensive linemen to play to the level of these guys that they just had. But maybe their hopes are, Stephen, that those young guys will emerge. I would imagine that's kind of the strategy that Pete Golding had. Because, again, I think Pete Golding's a hell of a defensive coordinator. He's just not Kirby Smart. And hell, there is not another one. And that's why Alabama fans hated him, because he wasn't Kirby Smart.
And I think Jaheim Otis has been also connected to Ole Miss.
There you go.
So I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe you kind of, and really, I do think if you want to build a roster, you want to have homegrown plus like a few portal additions. So maybe you're not as portal heavy, but maybe the additions are just as impactful, plus your homegrown guys. And maybe there's not a significant drop, but still, I still think it's going to be hard to replicate the Walter Nolans and Princely's and those guys across the board right away next year.
Yeah. Oh man. Appreciate you, Brandon. He's feeling generous.
Oh, thanks, cuz.
He must have got a bonus at work or something. He said coaching did suck this year. We appreciate you for $50. So yeah, it did. But
Pete Golding.
Not Pete Golding. Yeah. Pete Golding he should be up for the Broyles Award. I don't think he is. He should be. All right.